Let us look at this outburst of Kwankwaso, of course, the former governor of Kano State, where he have accused Tinubu government of neglecting the North in terms of allocation of resources. We understand that Kwankwaso is someone who met with Tinubu recently in Aso Rock in an attempt to see whether he could join the ruling party. But it appears as though the two of them could not agree on terms, and perhaps that may have angered the likes of Kwankwaso, who have now decided to start speaking up. But the point is Kwankwaso justified in the face of all the things Buhari did in his time, how Buhari marginalized the South? And if you go to look at it from the point of what federal government is doing for the North is not being marginalized in any way. But I don't know why the likes of Kwankwaso or the Fulanis are crying woe. Let me equally bring out some areas where the Buhari administration, of course, is either they clearly marginalized the South or it was a wasteful spending. But again, I will be bringing in the news that came from Kwankwaso and the counter that came from federal government. But before I do that, let us briefly look at what Buhari did in his time. Of course, we understand that when it comes to security positions, it's about 17. Talking about from the Office of the National Security Advisor, Office of Chief of SR, Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of course, Director of DSS, it's about 17. But in the time of Buhari, under Buhari's watch, the North took about 14, leaving about just 4 or 3 for the southern part of the country. And if you even look at the spending of the government under Buhari, you begin to wonder what was happening. Because we understand that, for instance, Kano Niger rail project gulfed about 1.9 billion US dollar, which is approximately 2.9 trillion naira. You begin to wonder of what economic benefit is it to Nigeria economy. And again, under Buhari's watch, the time of Buhari as the president, Nigeria spent 9 billion US dollar to fix our refineries. At the end of the day, they are not working. The government is even thinking of how to even sell it. And if you even convert that to naira, you are talking about 29.something trillion naira. This was just a wasteful spending that nobody can account for. If you even go to ways and means, talking about the window the Constitution provides for the federal government to borrow to address some shortfalls in the budget. Under the Buhari's administration, Buhari borrowed 30 trillion. And up to today, nobody is able to account for it. No proper accounting, nobody have been able to probe it. So it beats all imagination why the North will be making all this noise. I look as though the man, Tinubu, is a match. Maybe that is even the reason we are seeing the regrouping under the banner of the new coalition. Because it's even becoming very clear that the coalition is just for Atiku. Because, of course, even that Ahmed Baba have made it clear that the coalition is just for Atiku and that they are only just driving Obi into it just to leverage on Obi's popularity and, of course, the movement, Obedient movement, who are in large number. But again, let us even look at another area of wasteful spending. We shall be briefly going to be looking at what came from Kwankwaso, then just opposite with the position of federal government in their response. Now, overseas medicals, money Nigerians spent in their overseas treatment under Buhari's administration was 3.6 billion US dollar. If you convert that to naira, you are looking at about 5.5 trillion naira. You begin to wonder what Nigerians went through, or rather what Nigerian economy went through under this man. Then again, let us even look at states in Nigeria. Talking about 19 states in the north and about 17 in the south. There's nothing like equity, justice, and fairness in that. And these were created by military of northern extractions at different points in time. And let us just take a look at the Kano where Kwankwaso was governed, where he is a heavyweight in terms of politics. In Kano alone, Kano is having 44 local governments. Jigawa that is carved out of Kano is having 27 local governments. Put together, we are looking at about 71 local governments. So you begin to wonder what the man, Kwankwaso, is talking about. Because when it comes to revenue sharing, and they are using number of local governments, of course, it means Kano is getting more than any other state in Nigeria. And this is a state that does not have a single drop of oil in their state. When we are using agriculture as the mainstay of economy, revenue sharing formula was 50 goes to area where the product is coming from. But this time around, the crude is domiciled in the south, particularly southern part of the country, some in the southeast, some in the southwestern part of the country. But the Niger states, the 9 states that are oil producers, though they have discovered in Lagos and some other places recently, they are all in the southern part of the country. And they not take a chunk of that resources in the name of going to Abuja to share money through FAC. So you begin to wonder why a northerner will be speaking in this perspective. For me, there is no justification behind all of that. But before we go further, let me quickly go and bring you the position of Kwankwaso himself. Because for me, I do not see any justification in it. But let us bring it to you so that you can give us your comment in the comment section for us to know what you are thinking about it. I'm reading from the Tribune newspaper. It says, Tinubu neglecting not in allocation of resources. Kwankwaso. Go for that to say that the presidential candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, in the 2023 general election, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, has accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration of neglecting the North in the allocation of national resources. Speaking in Kano during a stakeholders dialogue on the 2025 constitutional amendment proposals, Kwankwaso said the federal government has diverted attention and resources to the southern region at the expense of the northern developments. The dialogue held at the Coronation Hall of the Kano government house was organized by the Kano state government to harmonize the state's position ahead of the deliberations by the National Assembly. Kwankwaso also said, let me advise the federal government on the distribution of the federal resources. From the information available to us, it is like most of the national budgets is now tightening in one direction in this country. But if you go further, you understand that even the insecurity in the northern part of the country, even the poverty in the northern part of the country, even Kwankwaso is attributing it to the way and manner national resources is being disbursed. We all know when it comes to insecurity in the country, when it comes to issue of Boko Haram, issue of banditry, insurgency, we know that it's something that has to do with ideology. Ideology that is rooted in the people's religion. Because even when you see Boko Haram, of course, we are made to understand that Boko Haram means Western education is sin. And their ideology is rooted in what they believe. So the point here is, instead of the leaders in the north to address this thing from ideological point of view, they are not finding confident to start attributing it to the way and manner resources is being distributed as a means, or rather as a cause of the problem. And another issue is, let us look at the chunk of resources federal government have used to address issue of insecurity right from inception of this insurgency in 2009 or so. Is mind-boggling. We can remember how the federal government withdrew a good chunk of money from joint state accounts that they used to procure about 12 Tucano jets. I think then it ran into about $500 million US. So I don't know where the man, of course, Kwankwaso, is getting his information from and justification from. But again, I would like to bring the position of federal government, because federal government has since reacted. Let me bring that to your, of course, let me bring that to your knowledge. Let us look at what the federal government is saying in response. He's saying, of course, this is the Punch newspaper. He's saying, not neglected under Tinubu presidency counters Kwankwaso. He go further to say that the presidency has dismissed claims by the 2023 presidential candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, that the North has been neglected under President Bola Tinubu's administration. The presidency also stated that several critical projects and programs are currently underway in the region. Kwankwaso, during a stakeholders dialogue on the 2025 constitutional amendment in Kano on Thursday, warned that national resources are increasingly tighted towards the southern region, resulting in deepening poverty and insecurity across the north. He lamented the deplorable condition of federal roads in the northern states, recounting how a cancelled flight forced him to travel by road from Abuja to Kano via Kaduna, a journey he described as hell due to the bad road conditions. Going further, he said, reacting via a post on his S handle on Friday, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity and communication, Sunday Dare, challenged Kwankwaso's assertion. The claim that northern Nigeria has been left behind is incorrect. The Tinubu administration has initiated and continued several landmark projects in the north, covering roads, infrastructure, healthcare, and energy, Dare said. He outlined major infrastructure, health, energy, and agricultural projects being implemented across northern states to buttress the government's commitments. Going further, he said, according to Dare, ongoing projects include Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Expressway, the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway, and the Ajokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline, among others. Dare highlighted $158.15 million agriculture value chain program across 9 northern states and the Kulmani Integrated Development Project in Bauchi and Gombe. Other interventions include the agro-climate resilience in semi-agric landscapes. So from what we are seeing, I think the government have actually responded. But beyond the response and beyond what the Kwankwaso himself have said, the point here is, just like that Baba Ahmed said, it's becoming increasingly understood that the coalition they are even touting about is just for the North to grab power. I think that is the point, that is the way it is. Because I've said it before, I think I've been vindicated already, that the whole intention, the whole idea of drafting Obi into that coalition is to leverage on Obi's popularity, to leverage on the obedient movement, just for the North to get back the power. Just that they always say. But again, I think somebody should be able to tell the North, particularly the Fulani, that this entitlement mentality they always express towards governing Nigeria, the right to rule, is not founded in anywhere, because nobody gave them any privilege to govern. What we understand is the South must complete their 8 years. It is irrespective of the opinion of anybody. If that is the reason, if what Kwankwaso just said is the reason we are seeing the gathering of the political heavyweights in the North, the likes of Atiku, the likes of Malame, the likes of former Secretary to Federal Government, Baba Chilawa, the likes of RFI, if that's the reason, I think they will have to think twice. Because it doesn't matter the opinion, though there is no written agreement, though there is no constitutional provision that say who will occupy Asurok at a particular time, or the region that occupies Asurok, but that tacit agreement or written agreement, understanding that have existed since this national democracy in 1999 must be sustained. That is to say, the South have their turn in Asurok until 2031. I always said it, that if the North are currently tired and do not want the man Tinubu in Asurok, we have an alternative in the person of P2B, who is well positioned, who have been adjudged to be the man who will cut the cost of governance, who will redirect Nigeria towards the path of growth and prosperity, who is an expert in cutting cost of governance, who is an expert in prudently managing government resources, who will not personalize the government assets, government resources into his personal and family affairs. So I think the North must realize that it is irrespective of the opinion of anybody, no matter how highly placed, that the South must complete their 8 years. I think they must understand that. There's no argument about that. Because in all the 8 years of Muhammad Buhari, we saw impunity. We saw nepotism. At the time the Southeast complained, we saw even the government, federal government, telling them that they are a dot in the nation. At the time, they equally complained after the 2015 election, the president then, Muhammadu Buhari, was very vocal, unequivocal, that he was going to give them 5% attention because they gave him 5% vote. And that he demonstrated in all his 8 years tenure. So, I'm not saying they should be marginalized, and of course, they are not being marginalized. Looking at the information that is coming from the presidential, talking about that, the North is not being marginalized. So they should not start crying when there's no need to cry. They should learn to tolerate when the South is in government. Because the South tolerated Muhammadu Buhari for good 8 years in spite of the high level of impunity, in spite of the high level of lopsidedness when it comes to appointment, in spite of nepotism that characterized his 8 years. The South tolerated it. Because there's no better way to say you are giving out security positions, you keep 19, sorry, you keep about 14 or 13 in the North and give the whole of the South just about 4 or 3. There's no justification behind it. And this time around, they are getting fairly what belongs to them. So I don't think they are justified to be complete. Just like I said earlier on, if that's the reason of the regrouping, is that why they are tactically gathering together to grab power? I think they must have a rethink. Because Obi must be circumspect to see that they do not use him to leverage, they do not leverage on his popularity to get power. Because definitely if Obi is in their fold, of course, they are hoping to use Obi to get vote from the southern part of the country, from the southeastern part of the country, and even from the southwestern part of the country. So that is where Obi have to be very, very careful. If the intention is to use Obi to grab power, I think the South must let them know that it doesn't work like that. That they must learn to tolerate other people in power. Because the South always tolerate them when they're in power, even in the face of impunity, in the face of nepotism and all of that. Let me say very big thank you for that. This is Mr. Matt.